informed, updated, and in the know of always what's happening in the world of current affairs, where we poke our nose into stories that are of current affairs and of also really what's happening in the country, where we also touch on some of the stories that are happening politically. We also really still come back and let you know of that. What about those that are happening within our communities socially? We also really come back and still let you know of what is happening in the society, and that is where at the end of the day we hope that you as the viewer will be getting that comprehensive information and you do not have to be left out in any aspect of also information as far as you deserve to get it in there. And all in all, you will be getting that information here on Western Television, that is on our different media platforms. For those who are watching us online, I do understand that many of you may be watching us online on YouTube, Facebook. We are as well appreciative of you. I know of colleagues who are always just watching us on board, that is on the morning show via online platforms. Most of the times on Facebook and YouTube, we are still very much appreciative. This is the Gen Zs. When we talk about the Gen Zs today, this is actually where majority of them are watching us online from the different parts of the country, from the different parts of the nation, and from different parts of the world, because the beauty of online platforms is that it can go as far as different parts of the world. And you do have colleagues who are always watching us across borders, and that is where we are coming back with the discussions. And today, allow me to welcome you on board and say the PLE candidates will be writing their very first paper that is in the final examinations today, after 7 or 8 years of being in primary. Today, they will be writing the examination, and I want to wish them the very best. And we hope they are prepared enough as far as these papers are concerned. And we are going to be following up and see how this, of course, will be ending. And I hope at the end of the day, they get the kind of results that they deserve and the ones that they also really want in there, because at the end of the day, we are saying they have been doing whatever it takes. Imagine being in primary for all these years, and today tomorrow you finish the examination, because they will be writing from today and tomorrow, and it is done. 2 days is actually done. You are done with the entire primary level. Everything of me studying in the primary, you summarize it in 2 days, and that is where we hope they will be getting the grades that they want, be it first grade, second grade, third grade, and also really we do not expect somebody to get Division U, because we are not praying for that. Of course, we do not want to see somebody with a Division U, because most of the times this talk disorganizes. It actually disorganizes and also makes people feel as if they're nothing. But we are saying, do not lose focus. Continue doing your very best and write the examinations at the very best in there. And we wish the teachers the very best, and they shouldn't give up. And that's in terms of preparing these learners in the 2 days also in there, because if you look at today, one of the stories I remember way back in the mid-2010s is that also really, I remember when we sat for examinations, the panic was real, and the pressure in that last week was real, and you feel like you need to read everything from P1 because you don't know what they're going to set. And you may be reading what was taught in P7, what comes is in P5. And you read what you are taught in P5, what comes is actually that of P7, and that is why sometimes it becomes a great challenge. And really we hope those who are also really going to be writing these examinations will be able to write them with one heart, and when the results come, we shall all be going on the streets to jubilate. Because most of the times there's a saying, as you are educating that child, and this goes to the parents, as you're paying the school fees, it is actually you paying the school fees alone. But when the results come, the results are now for the community, because we are going to be asking, how did so-and-so's son perform? How did so-and-so's daughter perform? And how did she also really maybe make it? Because people want to see how definitely they are really performing in there, and that is where it becomes a result for the community. And that is why sometimes after educating these children, you're not educating them for yourself alone, but you're educating these children to serve the world. And that is why we must make sure we bring our children in the best manner in there. And at the end of the day, that would also really enable them become the best out of what we expect them. And that is where at the end of the day, really, I want to say we shall be doing our very best to make sure that this does not also really stop, and we want to make sure that these learners make us proud come January next year, when the results probably will be released, and that would also really maybe make us proud as citizens of this country. And that is where we're going to put that discussion aside. And as we get to move on, remember so many stories continue to happen. Yesterday we had an engagement that is for the media practitioners, filmmakers, other content creators, broadcasters, and officials from Uganda Communications Commission, which is the regulator of what goes on different media platforms. And we had this engagement at, in Arua City at Heritage Coast Hotel, which attracted a number of different stakeholders. And talking about the different stakeholders, we were able to see the Election Commission also be brought on board, and where they did also caution the journalists against reporting which is imbalanced. And that is one issue also which is happening in there. And where they advise that also the impartial reporting is something which we must also really look into as we are getting closer to the 2026 general elections. And this is something which I really feel is worthy also talking about, because if you look at all this, then definitely you realize that also really a lot is happening, and that also happened yesterday. And we hope definitely at the end of the day, the journalists who will also be covering the elections come next year will be very fair in their reporting. If at all point A is said about politician X, then the politician X must also be asked, and he must also make his compliments and his submission also in terms of response, and that would also make our stories balanced. And that is one of the call Electoral Commission also was able to also express their views on, and many of the politicians also as well did talk about this, where they also address this issue of blackmail by some also media practitioners. And that is one thing also which we hope at the end of the day shouldn't be able to take place in West Nile sub-region. We want to see how best we shall be also moving towards this period, and want to make sure that everybody, I mean everybody, is also really within the kind of jurisdiction, within the kind of environment that will be very, very much suitable for us ahead of 2026 general elections. Because if you look at the 2026 general elections, then you realize that also really we are actually getting down closer to that period, and where we shall be seeing a number of issues happening. But really, how best are we for all that is what somebody also really out there may be asking themselves. But we are saying we are getting closer to that, and when the right time comes, also really, we hope everybody will be in position to sort of make sure that they're impartial in their reporting in there. And so many things, of course, continue to happen in the region when it comes to elections, and those also really eyeing the positions are not giving space for those incumbents. And that means as we are getting closer to that period, the pressure is actually mounting on all stakeholders and everybody out there to make sure that they also really make it come to the 2026 general elections. But we are keenly following up, and as different stakeholders, let's make sure at least that we are playing our cards well, because if you play the cards well and well, then it's going to be a great challenge, and which may also really ruin our reputation, which is something which we must also really disagree and also desist from, as we are moving on towards that period, which is actually one of those periods also really which I want to say is not very far from us. Because if you look at the period from now, you will realize that actually it is not very far as we are talking about this. Because if you look at 2006, we are now looking at how many months, I don't know, very few months that is towards that period. But we are keenly following up to see how, at the end of the day, this will also be ending. As we're getting to move on, allow me to inform you that as we are also already in there, that meeting actually also brought attendance from the Electoral Commission. We had officials from content creators also in there, and we, among others, also being brought together. And one of the bodies that actually had a lengthy talk was Uganda License Services Bureau. And this is actually in relation to registering and also really making sure the content creators also really have platforms for which they can be defended, first of all, if at all there are challenges when it comes to plagiarism. And that is one issue so which at the end of the day, I feel our content creators in West Nile sub-region should be able to tap into. Because when you talk about content creators, somebody out there may be asking, but who are the content creators? What exactly do they do? I mean each and everybody who is making something that is for the purposes of being viewed by others. For instance, the TikTokers, these are content creators. We have the filmmakers, they are content creators. The musicians, these are content creators. The movie makers are content creators. But how can we be able to solely benefit from that? Because many of the times people do not also really understand what roles these people play in society, and that is where sometimes they are not even benefiting from the contents that they create. And that is one directive which I did see happening in there, where radio stations and other media platforms, for instance, TVs, were directed to pay the musicians for playing their music on their different platforms. But how will it work? Because many of the times, these musicians are the ones that also request for their music to accept those who have made it, and those who have also made it maybe by their songs going viral. But now we are saying the musicians should be paid for their content that is played on the different media. How will this work? And what do you think maybe this is going to be implicating at the end of the day? Because yes, much as people have spent a lot of monies in terms of making that content, but the media houses as well need them. I feel it is a two-way thing. I need you and you need me. In terms of promotions, this is where I expect now the media houses to also give opportunity, which of course I believe they are doing, back to the musicians, and then the musicians shouldn't also really maybe put pressure, that is in terms of asking for money from the different content, also really content players, because if you look at also the different media platforms that play these items, many of the times they're also struggling. So I think at the end of the day, it is really very much important for us to be also advocating for a fair balance and maybe what we call a fair deal between the different stakeholders. For instance, the content creators and broadcasters. The bridge also really is a bit far-fetched, and that is why many content creators are not tapping and also benefiting from their content. You imagine a song that goes viral for over years, people are singing, but the musician has nothing in the pocket. That is why all these policies are coming. But this policy only applies to those who have also copyright. If at all your song is not copyrighted, definitely it may also become a challenge in terms of ownership. And that is why they were asked to actually register with Uganda Return Services Bureau. And if at all there's any challenge and where they rush to court, they will be owning this content without problems in there. And that is one issue which I really feel at the end of the day is quite important, and we must also really be able to address and talk about, because if we don't talk about it, then definitely we are going to be seeing challenges also really in the coming days with our content. And with that, we want to come to the end of this first half. This is the KOKLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV with me, Fadish Majid, where you must be watching us on StarTimes channel 477, online across our different social media platforms, and as well as on Zuku channel 00073, not forgetting the new baby, which is Azam, where we are just joining on that is on channel 369. If you have the decoder, then you will be in position to watch us via in there, and that is where we are coming also to the end of this first half. In case you're just joining us right now, do not be worried, we are bouncing back shortly, and when we get back, we are still going to be giving you more stories happening that is nationally and internationally. I do understand that this time around their preparations also to award the best serving leaders in West Nile sub-region. That discussion is coming up next. For now, we take a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Well, plenary is expected to sit today. That is in relation to the justifications and judgment in relation to what we call the merger that is for Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which is supposed to be moved under Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. But according to information we are receiving, MPs have been receiving repeated calls from different stakeholders, that is to rally them behind supporting the merger of this entity. But the pressure is as well mounting of these members of parliament. That's in relation to their voters, because most of the voters are saying they do not want to see the body be merged. But how will this end is what we are following up. And today we are going to be following up keenly to see how, of course, this will be ending. And that is where we have been having the discussion in relation to the merger, that is of Uganda Coffee Development Authority. Take a bit longer because many of the people have not also been rallying behind it, most especially those opposition members of parliament have opposed the bill also in there. But now we are keenly following up as the bill is supposed to be also moved to parliament today, and we are keenly following up and want to see how this, of course, will be ending. And that is in relation to this bill that also has sparked mixed reactions, with many rejecting it. Others have also really supported it. But really, when we talk about mergers, this is actually in relation to also really reducing government expenditure. But many people feel Uganda Coffee Development Authority is still in the right positions of remaining in there to also really make sure that they also really continue doing their best in terms of promoting coffee growth in this country. But many people also have raised questions and have raised concern about this same issue. But we are keenly following up on and want to see today how this, of course, will be ending, as recently opposition MPs rejected the National Coffee Amendment Bill. But members of parliament in the ruling government of NRM have been rallied, that is behind also supporting this move in there. But many of them also have been facing pressure, most especially from the electorates, whom have also been told also about the negatives about also the same issue. But we are keenly following up, and today we shall be seeing if at all MPs now support the merger, and if Uganda Coffee Development Authority moves under Ministry of Agriculture. That is how we shall be seeing that happening. And we shall be definitely in position to come tomorrow and also let you know of what is happening in there. And as we get move on, remember so many issues are going to happen. And today, as we are talking about PLE, just a few hours yesterday, we were able to see a pupil giving birth hours just before the PLE. Will she be allowed to sit? I don't know, definitely. Will she have the energy? Will she have the concentration? Is definitely what I don't know. But we are keenly following up, and we want to see if at all she will be sitting these examinations, which are starting today and ending tomorrow. But the primary 7 candidate that is in Butenga Church of Uganda Primary School in Bukomasimi district gave birth yesterday, just hours before the examinations, and she gave birth to a bouncing baby girl ahead of her final examinations. And that is one thing which we did see happening in there, where the 14-year-old delivered her child. That's on Monday evening at around 7 p.m. And candidates are right there for an examination already starting today, and they will be ending tomorrow. And pupils reported also already experiencing labor pains, and shortly she was also already attending briefing, and that is where she was moved to Butenga Health Center for after registering what we call labor pains. And that is one thing which we also really know, and how painful it is, because if you really interact with mothers, they will always tell you that is a difficult situation. It is actually one of the most painful scenarios, and that is where most of the times, if at all we disrespect our mothers, they always tend to take us back in terms of also the pain that they underwent through in labor, and that tells us that indeed it is a difficult situation. Indeed, it is a moment which I want to say is painful. But of course, all in all, we want to wish this lady the very best, and we hope she will be still in position to write the examinations. And Sister Goreth Nabarunka, a midwife at Butenga Center 4, confirmed the girl had a normal delivery and is currently in good condition. And despite her early motherhood, the pupil expects examination to continue her studies, aiming to become a nurse in future. And Miss Peter Nkambwe, the head teacher of Butenga Church of Uganda Primary School, revealed that the school also became aware of the girl's pregnancy a week prior to the delivery. And after discussions with the girl's parents, they learned that the father of the child is a family member who has been living also in the same household. And this is where we need to talk about issues of incest. Cousins, brothers which stay with us, in most cases also have issues of having affairs with our children. Let's check on them, because you may not be understanding what exactly is happening, but I want to assure you it is happening within our society. It is happening within our families, most especially with those distant relatives that we bring to come and live with us. They will not know what they do behind us, most especially to the working mothers, most especially with the working fathers. As you are leaving home, you are leaving these children at home. Do you know what they do behind you? Do you try to also make sure to understand what happens in your absence? These are things that I really want to say are happening within our societies, and definitely we must also interest ourselves in wanting to understand what all this is all about. And that is one thing which we are seeing happening in there. And we did see security parties led by the deputy RDC, that is Fred Kalema, have launched investigation to locate the alleged perpetrator, who is reported also the father of the child. And today that man should be in hiding somewhere and must be ashamed of this act, because really it is a difficult situation to impregnate a fellow relative. It's happening, and indeed it's happening. And I do understand in Kenya it is a bit normalized, but in Uganda incest is still not allowed, and incest is still a crime according to our also different laws in there. And he also asked the youth to avoid from drug use, which can lead them to harmful decisions, and advised men to seek mature partners. And this is something which I want to say. I also want to add on what the Deputy RDC did say in there is happening. There's a scenario which is happening in a rural city here. I don't abuse drugs, I don't chew my rungi, neither do I smoke. But most of the times when you interact with these people, they will tell you after chewing my rungi, it takes them, it actually leads them to look for sexual partners. And this is something which is happening. It's not a rumor, it's not also something which I don't know of. But you see them, after chewing, you see the person loitering at the middle of the night, but you wonder what the person is looking for, and only to be told, looking for a partner. And that is what exactly drugs are doing. So I think it becomes worse with those who chew the mairungi and drink alcohol after it. But this is something which I want to say is a practice that is growing. And to me, I really want to say those, maybe if the Drug Act is implemented, the Narcotics and Substance Abuse Act is implemented, the rate of drug abuse would reduce in Western sub-region. But I want to show in a quite sad note, the trend is shooting up, where today you find children below the age of 15 are into drug abuse. You find them chewing marungi in different places, you find them smoking, and you wonder what kind of future these children will be giving us. And that means as parents, we must not also be able to neglect our duties, that is of raising children. Because once we neglect our duties, then we are going to be raising criminals who are going to be terrorizing the community, who are going to be terrorizing us also as well, because they're not going to be sparing that this is my father, I should not steal from my father. They're going to be stealing from everybody. So I think to raise a good child, it must start with our families, it must start with our communities. Let's make sure the children we are raising, actually the very best, are those, most especially those who understand what is also really happening in there. And this goes to also the perpetrators, most especially those who feel they cannot also live without also that act. Please, find mature partners. Find those who are old enough, those who can also really understand what exactly to do in there, so that also really we not also really see ourselves land in trouble with the laws. And now that this person has impregnated, I expect the laws of these countries to take course. We expect the laws also to deliver justice, because the person is still in primary and she isn't 18 years. And that means she is still a child. A child has given birth to a child. So I think there is something that we need to do. The victim also and the perpetrators must get justice, and that would also at the end of the day make sure that many people also desist from such practices. And the Deputy RDC confirmed the measures that have been put in place to also ensure that the pupil can take their examinations without further complications. And this is the good news also, which I feel must also be able to also go on in there. And that is where at the end of the day, we want to see this move on very, very well in there. And earlier on I was talking to you about the coffee bill, and now President Museveni has also really engaged the Buganda Bukedi MPs over the controversial coffee bill. And that is where we are now seeing the President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, having a meeting with members of parliament from Buganda, Bukene sub-region, and also really those aligned with National Resistance Movement Party to address concerns regarding the contentious coffee bill, which also really has sparked mixed reactions. And I do understand that Buganda is actually one of those areas where coffee, what we locally call mwani, is being planted and being farmed also in large numbers. And today, many of those people from that sub-region are saying the deal must not be moved, because if at all UCDA, which them has been doing a tremendous job, is moved under Ministry of Agriculture, then definitely that would also have its own negative implications. That is in terms of service delivery. Now, during the discussions, the Buganda NRM MPs articulated the anxieties of farmers about the proposed dissolution of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, as they expressed fears that this move could pave way for monopoly in the coffee sector. Now, the MPs were in their stance, asserting that if UCDA will be abolished, the government must sustainably also increase agricultural budget to provide adequate support, that is to farmers who are farming this coffee in there. Now, they also urge the coffee bill to incorporate also provisions for regional performance reports in the coffee sector, ensuring transparency and safeguarding the interests of the growers. And today, many of the growers are actually scared about the same move, as they feel this is going to be having a negative implication in terms of also their produce in there. Now, in response, President Museveni dismissed allegations of potential monopoly formation, characterizing the ongoing coffee debate as marred by misinformation. And this is where now we expect also the misinformation to be cleared, and the information must therefore be made clear so that so each and everyone understands, and those who may be opposing the bill will also really understand that this bill also needs to be supported, and for reasons which they will be getting also really in also really the coffee bill in there, which today will be also likely to be tabled also before Parliament and for debate, and we hope also the deliberations also will be coming in favor of the farmers who are the final growers and who are also going to be affected by decision at the cabinet level in there. Now, decision to meet the Buganda MPs appears to be founded also in Central Region, strong opposing to the merger of the UCDA. And if you look at the merger, most of the MPs, most especially from Buganda sub-region, have opposed this. And recently we did see also the Kingdom coming out to also say that this bill shouldn't be moved. And other than that, the budget increase is what needs to be undertaken, and that is where we expect now maybe government in terms of dissoluting the body, the funding also must be increased. Now, many stakeholders fear that scrapping of the agency could lead to market also instability, which will disappoint also impact small-scale farmers, and coffee farming is just not a livelihood but a cultural cornerstone for many Ugandans, particularly in Buganda, where the crop has historically been significant. And now Buganda Kingdom Prime Minister, that is Charles Peter Maiga, recently had voiced concerns about the government's government's push that scrap Uganda Coffee Development Authority, warning that such a move would also jeopardize the livelihoods of the nearly 2 million Ugandans. And Buganda Kingdom's Prime Minister last week also took a strong stance on the issue, saying coffee farming is critical and also has been playing a great role for survival of many Ugandans, and urged the farmers of this country to also persist in their efforts despite political wrangling. And now Buganda, prominent contributor, that is to Uganda's great coffee exports to the champion Emwanyi Terimba initiative, also which encourages coffee farming across the kingdom and beyond, has also raised concern in there. And today, if you look at Buganda, farmers contributing nearly 50% of the nation's coffee exports, scrapping the UCDA therefore has raised concerns among the community members who view this as a palliative measure aiming at weakening the Buganda region's influence in the coffee sector. Now, the Katikiro urged that the amendment also supported by Right Honorable Speaker Anita Among and others may be politically also motivated, framing it as a victory in courts against the Buganda people in there, and that is where the many people are not understanding, and also in relation to this coffee bill are raising concerns. Now, in recent weeks, the Katikiro also assured the coffee farmers of the kingdom of unwavering support and calling Ugandans to focus on safeguarding their livelihoods. And this is where the Emwanyi Terimba initiative will go undebated, and that is what we also already did see happening in there. But what exactly is the president saying ahead of this? And now at Tuesday's meeting, President Museveni acknowledged the historical hurdles in the coffee marketing, stated that the ineffectiveness of the previous coffee marketing board prompted the establishment of the UCDA, However, he considered that the USDA's effectiveness has diminished over time and proposed its integration into the Ministry of Agriculture. And Museveni also emphasized the financial requirements to revitalizing the coffee sector, estimated at over shillings 2 trillion, would be necessary also to enhance service delivery and as well as bolster support for coffee industry. And at the meeting, we did see President also asking the MPs to back the coffee bill, framing it as a vital initiative for advancing what we call the welfare of coffee growers. And with discussions already ongoing, the future of Uganda's coffee sector remains uncertain, with the MPs' concerns weighing heavily on the outcome. That is exactly what we are going to be following up from today and tomorrow, and we want to see how this, of course, will be ending, because the issue of the coffee bill has been there for now a quite long period of weeks, where many people have also been able to talk about this. But we are keenly following up and want to see how that, will, of course, will be ending. But now we are saying also many people have also raised concern about that. Notable among that is Kano Kiza, retired Kiza Besje, saying government also not smelling the coffee, and that is what exactly we are seeing. And now where we are seeing opposition still what Kiza Besje, a former presidential candidate, also an advocate for Uganda coffee sector, has voiced a strong opposition. That's the Uganda government's plan, that is to integrate Uganda COVID Management Authority into Ministry of Agriculture. And earlier on we were talking about the same issue, but we are still following up and we want to see how that, of course, will be ending. And Dr. Kiza Besje, a strong opposition leader, has also joined on the same matter, and where we did also urge the institution has already been stripped of its powers and autonomy. Now the President Museveni's plan is to incorporate the UCDA as a government department and would further weaken it, that is also in its plans, and that is what the Kano Kiza Besje say. And now since taking power, the National Resistance Movement, NRA, which later became the National Resistance Movement Party, has also, according to Dr. Kiza Besje, allowed government resources and assets to fall under control of individuals close to Uganda's leadership. And he claims that over the years, many state assets have been seized and weakened, including that institutions like the UCDA. And for nearly 3 weeks, opposition members of parliament, activists and farmers have voiced strong objections. That is the Uganda government's plan to disband the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. And now Dr. Kiza Besje has also joined among those leaders to also oppose this merger. But we are keenly following up and we want to see how this, of course, will be ending. And as well as I do understand, the debate has, of course, sparked intense discussions with Dr. Kiza Besje defending the authority as losing battle. And that is what exactly we did see happening in there. But we are keenly following up on the discussion in relation to the coffee merger bill, which has, of course, sparked mixed reactions. But we are going to be following up on, and we want to see how this, of course, will be ending ahead of the days in there. And that is one area where we are going to be seeing it happening. And we hope with the rains, the farmers who are out there who have unused land can be able to solely convert that land and plant coffee. And we want to see many coffee farmers in Western Sub-region, because this area is not very much used for coffee farming, except tobacco. But we are saying in terms of maybe growing tobacco, why don't we shift and plant coffee? Because if you look at coffee, you will be able to make several harvests out of also the same plant you have planted in there, unlike tobacco, where you will be harvesting it once. I think most farmers also really should be able to sort of do that, and that would, at the end of the day, make sure that they get what is expected out of them. And we are going to be following up on that. We up to also really 9 o'clock, and after 9 o'clock, that's when I will be leaving the studios for the next group to come. But before, we still have lots more to also really weigh in with you, and that is where we shall be also really talking about all that. And that is when issues only which we feel must also really be able to sort of talk about as we get to move on with the show. And that's still we're moving on. Remember, we are just left with 7 minutes to wind up with this hour. And in one of the institutes of learning, that is Bishop Stewart, law students engage Kazo community on Wills Light land rights to reduce conflicts. And that is where we are now seeing law students also really from Bishop Stewart University have launched a legal awareness campaign in Tabazi Parish, Kazo sub-county, aiming at empowering local residents with the rights also really on knowledge and will. That is in relation to wills and rights, because many of times today when we talk about these same issues, many people do not understand what wills are all about. And many parents also do not write their wills. and many parents as well as do not also really know their rights, most especially the children. Once their parents die, and the widows are vulnerable to this. We have seen people also been thrown out of also lands that belong to their husbands by relatives, by children. Really, it is the issue of rights. I think what the students of Bishop Stewart are doing is a bit commendable, and we must appreciate them for that. And now organized by the Bishop Stewart University Law Society, this initiative seeks to mitigate conflicts over inheritance and land also, which are the very much issues causing trouble. When a person dies, land is taken. You hear a person saying, this is my brother's land. You woman, go away from here. Leave the land. This land belongs to my brother. This land belongs to our family. Yet, this woman, by law, is supposed to earn something. What about wills and property? And inheritance, in most cases, is really a great concern. And that is where we must commend the students of Bishop Stewart for taking that. And now at the event, Rachel Nsima, the Vice President of the Bishop Stewart Law Society, underscored the importance of understanding inheritance law and rights also as a means to prevent family and community conflicts. And that is one issue which we did see happening there. That the awareness campaign addresses crucial topics, including the importance of drafting will, which many people are not doing, and that is where it becomes a great challenge once we go on, because we don't know when we are going to be dying, and this goes to all those poor property. Let's avoid conflicts. Write your things in wills. Make sure the will is a bit fair enough. Keep it with the lawyers. Sadly, once we die, our children, our family members do not also really fight and scram for our property, and that is really one issue which at the end of the day I want to implore each and every person out there to also really embrace as we are living in this society. Now, Anita Atuhaire, a law lecturer of Bishop Stewart University, praised the initiative for its dual purpose of community outreach and enhancing students' learning. And that is one issue which at the end of the day we feel is very much good in there. Now, Atuhaire did also go on to point out that this initiative offers students with a unique opportunity to engage directly with the community, bridging the gap between the theoretical also education and practical problem solving, which is actually the way to go. We don't want to see lawyers after graduating who cannot hardly also address concerns, because in most cases we hear them also as the land fellows. Yes, indeed, we also want to expect that also those who are graduating also are the ones who can be able to solve community problems, because you are studying to serve the community and also avoid problems. Now the campaign was well reached and well received, with also different stakeholders also emphasizing the increased legal awareness, and also that's where we are saying this could also further prevent family problems, and also the communities also in there. Now they also aspire for initiative to create a lasting impact on the community, contribute to peaceful and informed society. And now by empowering residents with legal knowledge, the Bishop Stewart Law Society is fostering a stronger sense of justice and the respect of property to rights, and which also the local communities are entitled to. And that is exactly what we are seeing happening in there. But many times people do not actually know their rights, and indeed it becomes a great concern where the learners can hardly also really, maybe the society and members of the community can hardly also really understand, where it becomes a great concern, where many people do not also really know what to do to hire the lawyers, and it really becomes a great concern in terms of legal fees, because many times we may need the law services, but the law services are not there. Many of the lawyers are not into pro bono, and that is why it becomes a great concern, most especially for the vulnerable community members who do not have the monies. But I really want to encourage the lawyers to sort of give back pro bono to those members of the community who do not also really, maybe would not have the monies, and those who cannot afford legal fees. And when I talk about pro bono, these are free legal services which are being undertaken by some of the lawyers, and it's a law term which means free legal service, and that is where they expect now each and everyone, most especially the lawyers, to also support their community members, to give back the community members through such initiatives. And this is indeed a pro bono which also the Bishop Stewart University students are doing, and we expect people to be sensitized, because many times people are being thrown out of their rights simply because they do not understand these rights, and this is where it becomes a challenge. And right to also property and wills is what we need to also really embrace as we are living on the society in there. And with that, we are going to be taking a short commercial break. And when we return back, we are still going to be continuing with more of the stories, and we shall be summarizing the entire day with, of course, what is happening internationally and also what's happening in the world of sports. And that means for you who love sports, and who also is willing to know what's happening across the African borders. Definitely you've been positioned to sort of get information. And for you who also really wants to get what's happening across the borders of Uganda, still I will be letting you know that. But that will only be coming possibly in the second hour of the show, which is from 8 to 9 o'clock. And I want to welcome you on board in case you have just turned on the TV, and in case you have just joined us, we are saying you are most welcome aboard. For those who are watching us on StarTimes, we are on channel 477. Those on Azam, which is our new baby, we are on channel 369. Not forgetting those on Zuku, who have the satellite also the machines, you can be able to watch us on channel 0073. And of course, those who are the Gen Zs, and when I talk about the Gen Zs, these are the people who are online. These are watching us on West Nile Television, that's on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Twitter. We are very much appreciative, and we thank you so much for always watching the biggest TV in this country. And that is where we shall be continuing with you that discussion in the second hour of the show. For now, we take a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back. We are 4 minutes into, that is our second hour of the show, which is 8 o'clock, and I'm going to be discussing a lot of issues in this hour. And earlier on, I was talking to you about rights, and you get to understand that indeed, many times people don't understand their rights, and it becomes a great challenge when people also are supposed to be getting their rights. They are being turned off just because they have also not understood their rights in there, and that is one issue we are discussing earlier on. As far as the students of Bishop Stewart have gone back to society to sensitize the community about wills, which many people are not doing, and the issues of rights, and that rights to ownership of property, which is also a great challenge in there. And now in Fort Portal, on a related scene, Fort Portal High Court Judge Vincent Emi Mugabo is advocating for alternative dispute resolution in land and property cases, citing the court struggles with high caseloads, primarily due to sharing and land distribution disputes, and that is one thing which we did see happening in there. And he made the call during a 2-day training and accreditation program for mediators under the Fort Portal High Court circuit, and the training also, which ended yesterday, that's October 5th, runs under the theme focusing on accessibility and promotion of the ADR as a key component of dispute resolution, that is to achieve people-centered justice with an emphasis that is on a more to see how this, of course, will be ending as we get to move on with the show. But now the training also is, I must say, is timely, and we hope at the end of the day people also embrace what we call the alternative dispute resolution, to also withdraw the cases maybe from court, and you go back and still see how best you can be able to mediate and also end those issues. Because many of them, because of issues of land, many of our neighborhoods can hardly greet each other just because neighbor X crossed on neighbor X's land. It is exactly what is happening, and others pretend to be fine, but you realize that most of the neighborhoods have issues when it comes to land. And that is where we expect now to embrace what we call surveying. We expect them to also embrace what we call titling their lands, and that will be very, very much well for them. Now, following the enactment of the Administration of Justice Act 2020, that the Deputy Chief Justice Richard Butera announced that also the judiciary has embarked on transformative agenda, prioritizing justice for all, also by empowering communities to take ownership of justice system. And he said that people-centered approach aims to deliver what we call justice in accordance with the law, promoting equal access to justice and upholding the rule of law, which also is something which we are following up, and we want to see a country also reach that level in now. Now the Chief Registrar, that is Sarah Lunga Siu, announced that the newly established ADR registry at Fort Portal also circuit led by Zulaika Nanteza aims to facilitate and support the rollout and implementation of mediation services across the country. And that is what exactly we are going to be seeing, and we want to see people embracing mediation as a factor also to addressing the high cases of case backlog in the courts of law, which is something which we are seeing happening today. But of course, we are going to be posing with the discussions in there, and we hope at the end of the day you embrace it, and to make it sure that also the cases which you have also been moving to court for over years, this time round also will be addressed in there, because many times people move to court and they get tired. Over maybe years, people are moving to court, but it reaches an extent. They get tired of also moving in there, and that is where, at the end of the day, we hope people, most especially those who have also been able to also have issues of case backlog this time round, will be also embracing the ADR to also withdraw the cases and go back and solve the cases also maybe at the lower levels. And that is one issue also which at the end of the day I feel will be able to reduce the cases of case backlog in the courts of law in there, because if you look at case backlog, it's actually a great concern that is affecting judiciary, partly because of the numbers of the judicial officers, and secondly also over certain issues. But that is where we're going to leave the discussion aside, and leaving that aside, ex-leader of opposition in Parliament Puga expressed optimism of electoral reforms, and that is one issue also which we are seeing keenly here, where the immediate former leader of opposition parliament, that is Matthias Mpuga, has expressed optimism about the prospects, that is for the government to implement the constitution and the electoral reforms ahead of the 2026 general election, because many people have been waiting for this. Now the Nyendo Nkungwe member of parliament, who is also a parliamentary commissioner, suggested an interview also on one of the TV stations in Kampala that is not also really too late to be able to be tabled and then have the reforms implemented before the next elections. And in October 4th of this year, Mpuga wrote to the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, also to be given time to table his proposed reforms, which are expected to also be improved, that's to improve the country's political landscape. And he said the interview that last time also really he made in inquiry with the Speaker's office, and he also told her that we are still trying to find space for him to order a paper also which finds also official schedule for Parliament's business also in there. But we are still talking about the issues of the reforms. I do understand the Electoral Commission has also not tabled the reforms, but we are getting closer to 26 because many people have been advocating for these reforms. And one of the reforms also is for the members of Parliament to also have a qualification of at least degrees, where the councillors also must at least have senior six. But today, to be a councillor, you do not have to have papers. This is something also which many people have been advocating for reforms, because the councillors are going to be doing a great job, first of all, in monitoring government projects and also supervising the technocrats who in most cases are degrees. And that is where many people have been advocating for these reforms. And the women members of parliament also really recently, in one of the reforms that was proposed by one of the leaders, it was also really that the women members of parliament must only serve for 2 terms maximally in there. But we are still seeing those reforms being developed, but we are following and hoping before the next general election we have these reforms tabled and also really be able to solely let the country know of these reforms in there. But that is one thing also which we are keenly following up on, and the electoral reforms also is something, of course, many have been waiting to also have in this nation. But we are keenly following up on, and that discussion we shall be able to solely come back and let you know of what is happening in relation to those reforms in there, and will they be passed, and will they succeed, will they not, and that is what exactly we shall be also really seeing that happening in there. And leaving that discussion aside, Katanga's murder trial resumes. Murder trial fails to resume after witness does not show up is another story we are seeing happening in there. And that is another sad story that we are still seeing. And remember, the Molly Katanga is actually accused of allegedly murdering also the husband in there, together with the children, and that is 2 daughters who was already battling the same charges in there. And that is one issue where she has been kept behind bars, despite also really her complications in terms of health. But that's one issue also which we are keenly following up on, and I want to show you that the trial actually failed to solely resume yesterday after witness did not show up, and that is where we did see for high-profile murder trial, the prosecution also again forced itself into embarrassing this after failing to also produce a key witness against Molly Katanga. After 2 weeks adjournment, and now the prosecution was expected to resume its narrative on the details surrounding the death of Henry Katanga, a businessman, at his home in Chua 2 Road in Mbuya on November 2nd, 2024, and that is one thing also which we did see happening in there. Now, Attorney Jonathan Mwaganya informed also that the court presided over by Judge Isaac Mwata that the undisclosed also witness arrived late in Kampala and was unable to also proceed after failing to access the exhibit store. And the prosecution therefore also claimed that the witness had traveled to Kampala from upcountry and arrived late last evening and thus failing to access the exhibit locker. And Judge Mwaya was forced to adjourn the hearing to Wednesday, which is also today. And among the key witnesses only still left in is ballistic expert, whose testimony and expert analysis also admitted to court it will be going along in answering the question of the bullet entry, and that is one issue also which we are keenly following up on. And this is in relation to the alleged murder of the businessman, which also today has kept this woman together with others also behind bars in there. But that is one issue also which we are following up on, and it's alleged that also the woman also murdered the husband in there. But that is one issue where we expect justice, and where we expect the judiciary to sort of make its pronouncement after investigations whether she is innocent or guilty. But we are keenly following up on that. Meanwhile, in Hoima, Police have arrested 18 to separate madmen from criminals is another story we're seeing, and I hope the same also is brought to Arua City as also a part of also reducing criminality in the city. Now, police in Hoima have arrested 18 people suspected to also of being also pretending to be mental illness cases in operation also aiming at addressing security concerns, and many of these have also been disguising as madmen, yet these are suspected thieves. And now the operation also follows intelligence reports suggesting that some people also have been disguising themselves as mentally ill to engage in criminal activities. And we did see the RDC for Hoima, that's Badru Mugabe, also talking about on the same issue, and explained that the city had a significant increase that is on the mental illness, people who are having mental illness cases, many of whom also lack identifiable origins. And that is one issue also we did see the RDC also talking about in there. Now, Hoima City also faced a rising threat that is from growing population of mentally ill individuals, some of whom are suspected to be criminals. And now the Hoima City Security Committee, led by RDC Mugabe, resolved on October 31st to conduct an operation targeting these individuals. And that is where we did see also scores being arrested in there. Now the operation also was launched on Monday morning, which saw police comb through various areas around Hoima City. By the end of the operation, 18 individuals had been arrested and taken to Hoima Regional Referral Hospital Psychiatric Clinic for assessment of whether they are mad or these are just pretenders. And now Mugabe noted that the increase in mentally ill is partly attributed to drug abuse, particularly amongst the youth who are abusing substances, for instance, opium, marijuana, and other drug also related abuses in there. And that is one issue which we did happening in there. However, the operation highlighted the challenges related to space constraints at Hoima Regional Referral Hospital, that the psychiatric clinic, which also has a capacity of 40 patients. And Julia Sakiza, the Albertine Regional Police spokesperson, confirmed the operation, emphasizing that any potential security threat must be addressed promptly, and that is why they resorted, of course, to now arresting these madmen suspected to be disguising in relation to sort of take advantage of the people by robbing them in there. And that is one area at the end of the day we are going to be seeing, and we want to see how this also will end, and we shall be following up keenly till the last also to make sure that madmen who are disguised in Hoima who must also run away, just like how the criminals of Arua City have taken off. Many of them have run off, but today we are seeing the activity slowly returning. And that means criminality, which was already reduced, is likely to also come back to its peak, if at all we would not also have these suspected criminals arrested once again. And that would also be something at the end of the day that will be putting us in danger. Because if you look at the criminals, these are people who people read, and they read minds, and they really study you and plan, and they definitely can also plan through disguising as madmen. But we hope what Hoima City is doing should also be able to go back to the rest of the country also to make sure at least that there's something also which we must also be able to talk about in there. Because if you look at that, then definitely we are going to be seeing our people being taken advantage of, and that would also be very, very much dangerous for them in there. And as we move on, remember, so many stories going to happen, and we hope also those who are mentally ill have at least health. Because yesterday I was at the mental ward of our Regional Referral Hospital, and you realize also today most of the population in there are the boys, and these are the youth, and these are the young population. You wonder why. It is as a result of drug abuse, and indeed most of the young people today are abusing drugs. Justification, you move to the mental ward, you will be able to see maybe the population of the boy child in relation to the girl child. You realize also most of those people admitted they are actually the boys. And that is where we must also, as a community now, join hands and sensitize these people about the dangers of this substance abuse. And we must also make sure that those who are selling these drugs within the society are actually reported to police, because they are doing a disservice. Much as it is an activity that is said to be earning money for them, but let's mind about the health of those victims who are running mad in there, and that would also, at the end of the day, make sure that security operatives actually deal with those who are selling these items, most especially in these bad places. And that is where, at the end of the day, we expect really police to do something. We expect security agents to do something in terms of arresting those who are selling this substance to those people in there, because medically these drugs are supposed to be used only under prescriptions of those doctors in there, but many of the times then we see people abusing these drugs. People misuse these drugs. People have reached the extent of smoking gray hair. And this is a story which was quite sad when we heard about it in Yumbe district, that people are smoking gray hair. Others are smoking the peelings of also the groundnuts, which are all bad stories, and at the end of the day I feel it is actually what is contributing to the number of young people running mad in there. And this is a justification move on the streets. Out of every 10 madmen you find, there will only be at least one woman. The rest will be men. And that is also a justification that indeed most of those who are abusing the substance, actually the boys also in there. And that's where we're going to be leaving that discussion aside, but still in relation to what's happening in health. The Minister of Health, in partnership with USAID, SBCA, and other supporting organizations, have launched also what we call a campaign to combat teenage pregnancies, and that is a great challenge also which is affecting the girl child. And as we're talking about the boy child in drugs, the girl child is on the other hand in what we call teenage pregnancy. Now the campaign named BOLD stands for Believe in Dreams, Own Choices, Lives with Purpose Socially and Dedicate Destiny, which was launched also at Banda Secondary School in Banda Sub-County in Namaingo district. Now the social behavior change campaign of adolescent also and young people is dedicated to empowering youths to make informed choices about their sexual and reproductive health with focus on the Busoga sub-region, particularly Namaingo district, which also is witnessing high rates of teenage pregnancy and persistent also that cause for change. And it is also, and this is also where we shall be seeing young people also inspired to take control of their future by promoting healthy decision making. And speaking at the launch, Dr. Charles Oralo, the director, clinical and curative also in the Ministry of Health, noted that the campaign aspires to build healthier and more informed and more empowered generation. And he explained that also the campaign targets adolescents and the critical period when individuals also develop habits and make decisions that can also affect the rest of their lives. And this is actually the truth. As an adolescent, the decision you make right now may cost you for the rest of your life. Imagine getting pregnant at this time and taken to the man who also may run away. Your future is going to be ruined because your parents who have been paying for your school fees are definitely also going to be relieving themselves of paying the school fees, and you have to go into suffering in terms of also waiting for money from the husband. Sometimes when the money is not there, sometimes you're beaten, you will start regretting. So I think to the girl child, really less disease from tendencies of early pregnancy. And then to the boy child still, imagine you pregnant at the age of 18. You are going to be having responsibility. First of all, buying food, medical care for both the woman and the child. It's really something which I want to say is going to be also affecting your life, but whereby you'll be forced to work extra harder in terms of also providing for this family in there, and that would also really make sure that your dreams that you have also are going to be affected in there. And that is one initiative why this BOLD project is coming in place to sort of address those issues of teenage pregnancy amongst adolescents. And Matthias Mangenyi, the Assistant District Health Officer for Namaingo District, noted that also the national campaign will help reshape strategies, that is for engaging the younger population to take charge of their health. Now he mentioned that Namaingo still faces challenges with youth engagement in health services, and Mangenyi said that also that in the 2023-2024 financial year, the teenage pregnancy rate in Namaingo District was at 28%, and here that also stakeholders have also done enough to address some of these concerns in there. Mangenyi noted that the district has also been making significant steps to protect and empower teenagers, especially girls, with key approach being peer-to-peer support. And that is one issue also which we did see happening in there. And we hope at the end of the day, each and every person also will be getting the kind of information and the kind of protection also they deserve in there. Now, according to the Uganda Demographic Health Survey, data for 2022, teenage pregnancy remains high. That is at 24%, barely from 25% in 2016. And distinguishedly, these pregnancies contribute to 18% annual maternal deaths in Uganda. Today, we also seeing our young girls and daughters as well as losing their lives already while they're in also that process of giving birth in there. And that is one initiative which we must also really be able to really question our young girls against. And if at all we're not questioning them against that, we're likely to see them also really them continue with that behavior of having those issues and those challenges already in there. And that is where we are going to be seeing the discussions also in relation to what happens in there continue. But I want to assure you that so many issues are going to happen in there, and I will be also in position still to let you know of what is making rounds also in there. And that's why we are going to be continuing with the discussions, and we hope at the end of the day, you at least pick something for yourself. Pick the smallest, leave the rest. And you must also really pick the best and utilize it also to make sure that your life is also transformed in there. This goes to the teenagers, less disease from tendencies of engaging in early pregnancy and in early sex, because it is what exposes us to early pregnancies and early marriages in there. And let's wait. If at all you're in school, keep in school. Wait until you are done with school, and then you'll be able to also find the right partner also for your also lifetime in there, where you're going to be having a bright family, and where you're going to be having a good also time in there, and that is where you will be also having good time in there. For those who are going to be sitting in UNEB today, and UNEB has also confirmed that 790,000 pupils are to sit for these PLE examinations from today, and we are wishing them the very best. And in this next 5 minutes, I really want also us to pray, also to continue offering our prayers for the region, also as they are going to be sitting for their PLE examinations. For those who have sat for UCE, many of them are now within our societies. Let's also find ways of keeping them busy, so that they do not also engage in those activities that may expose them to also vultures. And now the candidates are slated to start with mathematics. This morning, I do understand many of them also could now be preparing. Others will be writing these examinations. That is from 9, and we hope also they will be doing it in their best format in there. And that is where tomorrow they will be finalizing the examination. Now that the UNEP spokesperson for the UNEP spokesperson, Ms. Jennifer Kalule, I said the candidates solely were first briefed on Monday by their respective OA teachers and invigilators, and Mr. Kalule said the candidates are slated to sit the mathematics paper this morning and social studies in the afternoon, and tomorrow they will be also sitting for the rest of the remaining papers, that is science and also English in there. But we are hoping that they will be writing their very best in there, and we want to wish them the very best as they are writing these examinations, and that is where from tomorrow we shall be seeing them also coming back to our society. And my humble appeal will be that let's protect them, let's offer them guidance, and to the children, let's always encourage them to do homework and house chores also to keep them busy, and let them support also their families with other domestic works in there, and that is how we are going to be keeping them busy, and to make sure also that they get the necessary kind of support that they also deserve in there, and that is where at the end of the day we shall be seeing them very much safe. Leaving that discussion aside, Uganda Wildlife Authority ranger shot dead after encountering suspected poachers is another sad story that we are seeing, where the Uganda Wildlife Authority staff said that on Tuesdays at one of their rangers solely stationed in Kidepo Valley Conservation Area was shot dead by suspected poachers while on duty, where we did see that is also the Private Jonathan Olara was killed also during an encounter with suspected poachers while on patrol within also the Katanga Community Wildlife Area, and this is according to UWA officials in there. Now the suspected shooters are reported to also be on the run, as police has launched investigation into the incident. Now Hanji said the incident services also serves as a stark reminder of the dangers involved also in conservation work, which is also a great concern in there. And today, if at all we not conserve our wildlife, then we are going to be seeing also our animals also getting extinct. And remember, this is the very first time we are seeing this happening. Minority also community accused of extrajudicial killings. And a man also was shot dead also in relation to also the same incident. That's also by UWA Rangers. UWA Rangers also shoot also these are issues where we have been seeing scenarios where it's either an UWA staff being shot dead, or it is the UWA staff themselves shooting the community members. And these are issues we have been seeing also in relation to conservation work. Conservation work is indeed a great concern and a great challenge solely as these people are doing their works in there, because poachers may not be also allowed to also arrest themselves in there. That's why sometimes they do these bad activities. And that's where we're going to be also hoping that we also pray for those who are doing their work in terms of also promoting and conserving these animals. And that is where we are wishing them the very best. And remember, both incidents highlight the ongoing tensions between the local communities and park authorities, and several civilians also residing near protected areas have over the years been killed or injured in the confrontation with the rangers. And these are stories we have often heard when it comes to the conflicts between the UWA staff and community members. We have always had issues in there, but that is where we are going to be taking a short commercial break. This is the KOKLIRIKO live show. With me, Farish Majid, and when we bounce back, we still have lots more to discuss. Our final destination, of course, remains 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, that's when the next crew of AOLers also will be coming from 9 to 10, and that is after also really our program KOKLIRIKO. And after, many programs will be following. My name is Farish Majid. We take a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
right, welcome back. We are 34 minutes after 8 o'clock, and in these remaining hours, we are still going to be engaging you on some of those issues that we feel you must also be able to know of. And earlier on, we were talking about a scenario where a UWA staff has been shot dead by suspected poachers, which is really something which we must say is really very much sad and also disheartening, because these are people who are trying to also make sure they conserve the different also species of our animals for generations, because if at all they not also protect this, then it's going to be a great concern where we are going to be seeing a number of concerns only going on in there, and that may be very, very much bad for us to only witness in there. Leaving that aside, Buruli chief rise to Kabaka over breach of 2013 agreement. The head of the Buruli Cultural Institution has written that to Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Mwenda Mutebi, accusing him of not honoring the 2013 agreement that called for mutual coexistence and cooperation between the two cultural institutions. And now that is what we did see in the October 31st document, where Isa Buruli Constantine Mogezi Batamanya refers to the August 1st, 2013 memorandum of understanding signed between the Museveni and the Kabaka of also the Buganda in there, and that is where the president was actually represented. And the Buruli leadership also claims that the Kabaka has not fulfilled also the terms of the MOU, which called for mutual coexistence between Buganda and the other ethnic and cultural institutions within the kingdom in there. Today, if you look at all these issues, you realize many of the cultural institutions want to break away from the Buganda kingdom, and that's where we are seeing that happening. And part of the accusations leveled against the Kabaka and his administration are that also the agency could alleged encroachment on land also that, according to MOU, was supposed to be returned to the Buruli chiefdom as early as January 2014, when the palace was constructed at the Saza headquarters in Nakasongola district. And they say that this is contrary to the resolutions of the earlier mediation meeting that is between the central government representative, that is the then security minister, Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde. The Buruli leadership also further accuses the Buganda and its agents of disposing of its parts under the MOE belonging to the Buruli in there. But these are issues which I feel today are happening also within the kingdoms, and the kingdom also of Uganda must be going through a lot, because this is not the only, the Buruli cultural system is not the only one. We are seeing many others who also want to break away from that also initiative in there, but we are still following up and want to see how this, of course, will be ending in there, and we shall be coming back to also continue letting you know. And as we get moving on with the show, we are just remaining with very few minutes. We are seeing also on a sad story where moppers killed 21 people in Bukede in 9 months. This is a story which we also want to let you know of. In Bukede sub-region, the death toll of people killed in just 9 months is said to be 21. And what are the human rights saying? And I want to show you now the Bukede sub-region in eastern Uganda has registered a case in rising cases of mob action, and leaders and the police also say that they are grappling with increasing crime rates, fear and anxiety over the widespread dissolution of locals with law enforcement, who have also really resorted to mob action. As statistics from Uganda police indicate that 19 mob cases of mob action were recorded in 2023, with 7 cases in Chibuku district, followed by Budaka sub-district with 6 cases, Palisa with 5, and Butebo with 1 case so being registered in there, and this is in the Bukede sub-region. And between January and October 2024, the sub-region has recorded 21 cases of mob action, and Budaka district with leading also cases of 11, followed by Palisa, where 5 cases are being registered, Chibuku with also really 3, and Butebo registering 2 cases in there. Now Bukede North comprises of districts of Budaka, Chibuku, Palisa, and Butebo, and that's forming the Bukede North also the region in there. Now the region also registered 25 cases of also the murder, with the Palisa taking the lead with 12 cases, followed by Budaka. 9 cases are registered, Chibuku with 3, and Butebo with 3, and Chibuku with 1 in there. Now North Regional Police Spokesperson, that's Superintendent of Police Samuel Semeo, attributed the increase that is to cases of ignorance and about the justice system and its produced procedures, and this is something which we are still seeing also happening vividly in our society in there, and that tells us how we must also prepare ourselves also to address the issues of mob action, because mob action indeed is against the laws of this country, and human rights not also promote that. And if you really have an opportunity of interacting with Uganda officials of Uganda Human Rights Commission, you will realize that much as we are saying there's no right of a person to end another person's life. There is also no rule also for a person to grab another person's property, and that is where it becomes a two-way. It means you who is watching us right now and engaging in those practices, then you must also desist from, because at the end of the day, if you're caught, you are going to be suffering in there, much as you are also not also really, first of all, the owner of the property, you are also first of all supposed to be desisting tendencies of torture, because torture also is against, take the person, arrest the person, take the person before the law, let the laws take their course. That is what human rights are advising, not you catching the person and calling the community, the person is beaten to death. That is, of course, against human rights, and that also really is something we must also always desist from, and as we get moving on with those. And that is one thing which we are seeing happening, and it is in the Bukele North region, which we always also want to also talk about in there. And that is why we're going to be leaving the discussion aside. Over 350 people displaced, gardens destroyed, rains pound 9 Namutumba villages, quite sad, and this is also from hailstorms. And that is where we are now seeing over 350 residents across 9 villages in the Muzumba sub-county in Namutumba district have been displaced and risk of suffering hunger and poverty after heavy rains characterized by strong winds destroyed more than 37 houses, garden crops on Monday evening in there. Now the affected villages include Kakunyu, Nsola A, Nsola B, Namuwayo, Bumbala, Kasuleta A, Kasuleta B, Buchede A, and Buchede B, who have also been affected also by the hailstorm. And the rainstorm that lasted for about 3 hours, blew off rooftops of several houses, destroyed several gardens also that we did see happening in there, destroying crops like cassava, maize, rice, coffee, and bananas also in there. And that is one issue also which we did see happening in there. And remember, recently we also had the same scenario in Arua district, where we also had houses being destroyed and house buildings being deroofed. And that is one issue also which we did see happening in there. But we are still saying, let us plant more trees. Because if we plant more trees, maybe the hailstorms come when we have trees, there's a role that the trees also will be playing, first of all, in holding the winds, and that is what exactly we also have to also really ensure that we embark on. And this is happening in Namutumba. If we do not plant the trees in the next coming years, it may happen to our districts in Western Sub-Region. Now, Namutumba SC5 Chairperson David Mukisa has said the district also is becoming one of those in the country facing disaster. Almost every year, it means that this is the very first time Namutumba is being hit by hailstorm. But we hope that this also will embark on strategies of ensuring that they also really engage in planting trees. Now, Muzuba Sub-County S3 Chairperson James Mugurwa has said that almost every season, either at the beginning or at the end, people of Nsola Parish face rainstorms, but get no support also from the government, which he described as very unfortunate, and that is where we are seeing it happening. Meanwhile, Kakunyu Village Elson Chairperson Ben Kafanka Ben has said the idea of planting tree is good, but they cannot also really plant the trees due to lack of space in there where people cannot also plant trees. They are also growing crops, and that is where they are finding it very, very much a challenge. And now a similar storm struck the area last year, destroying crops and also leaving 15 houses destroyed, where over 100 residents were actually left homeless. It means this is not the very first time that this is happening, and we therefore have to do something when it comes to solely these issues of promoting the planting of the trees, which is something indeed we must always embrace in there. And that is where we are going to be also really getting also that discussion aside, and as we get move on, and we shall be letting you know also more of the discussion. Now, senior 3 students also, a senior 3 student has died. That is from snake bite in Kamuli. Is another sad story we are seeing here, where a senior 3 student that is at Namasagari College has died after being bitten by a poisonous snake, which also sheltered into the dormitory last week. And the late Nasa Sejawi was laid to rest on Saturday at Bulembo village, that's Katara sub-county in Buyende district. Also was reportedly bitten by the reptile, which mistook also for mosquito, and he was later also pronounced dead upon arrival also at Kamuli General Hospital. And this man was bitten by a snake, which he thought was a mosquito. And this is where they delayed, and he was also pronounced dead upon also being taken to Kamuli General Hospital. A teacher at Namasagari College who prevailed anonymity because he is not also the spokesperson of the institution said the deceased also was bitten by the snake at around 2 a.m. on Wednesday last week, also suggesting that there were also attempts to keep the incident under wraps and that could also have resulted in delayed response in there. But after Sejam informed these roommates, the incident suspect frantic efforts to save his life, including rushing to Namasagali Health Center 3, which were also really in vain in there. Now, the Namasagali College chairperson, that is Parents Teacher Association, Godfrey Apuri Nyakana, said that a victim arrived at Kamuli General Hospital almost motionless, and that is what we are seeing happening now. Now, why is the blame going? I want to show you that it is going to be also a great concern, and that's where we're seeing he, however, attributed the death partly to the abrasive terrain of Namasagali also road, which is characterized by potholes, and also which is a bit immovable in there. That means that the response and maybe taking the person to health facility could have delayed as a result of the poor road in there. Now, but according to the female district councillor representing Namasagali sub-county, Kristen Kaguno Wange, that there should be no blame for the demise of the student, saying also all categories are partly to blame, and that is what we did see happening in there. But now we hope at the end of the day that also really no person dies in future as a result of also really such deaths in there. Now the new transferred teacher of the Namasagali College, Frank Sendi, regretted the tragic incident also, especially as he is just setting up to adapt to the new environment, and described the new environment and described the deceased as a slightly above average and promising student, and he is God. And that is what exactly is happening in there. That's Namasagali College in Jinja, in Kamuli. But we hope at the end of the day also really that this person also more people do not die as a result of that accident also happening in there, and that is where we are going to continue with the discussions. Our final destination remains 9 o'clock. Government embarks on second phase of FMD vaccination is another story that we are seeing, and this is in relation to the foot and mouth disease. Now the Uganda government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, has embarked on the second phase of foot and mouth disease vaccination campaign, and the campaign aims to complete its planned biannual vaccination in the 84 districts of the country. Minister of State for Animal Industry, that's Lieutenant Colonel retired Baitram Rama, handed over 4.5 million doses of FMD vaccines, that is the veterinary officers at the ministry headquarters in Entebbe on Tuesday, emphasizing complete vaccination exercise. And we are seeing, we are still following up, and we want to see how, of course, if the disease will be kicked off. And Dr. Anna Rose Ademun, Commissioner in charge of animal health, that has MAIF, noted that the new policy aims to eliminate the foot and mouth disease in the country, and this is where we are not also likely to consume meat if at all the disease continues to spread in the country, because it is a disease also that is really a bit zoonotic. It can be also moved from the animals to the people, and so the Post also the bank developed a system called the Wendy also for farmers to pay for FMD services, and that is what exactly we are seeing. And now the government has provided one-off funding to buy vaccines, and of course facilitate veterinary services, and the 84 targeted districts include that's Abim, Ajumani, Agago, Aleptong, Gulu, Jinja, Shibari, Wakiso, Choterampiji, Chiboga, among others, making it to 84 districts in this country. I don't know out of the how many, 100 plus, and that is where we are going to be seeing only the 84 where foot and mouth disease is suspected to be registered, also really to be also really benefiting from it therein. And that's one issue where we're going to leave the discussion aside with. Remember, the issue of foot and mouth disease also is quite common, and it is common in areas where animals are being kept in large numbers, and therefore we must also really make sure we protect ourselves from that disease. And if at all we are not protecting ourselves from that disease, then we are going to be finding a great challenge in terms of eating meat, and the meat we are going to be consuming may be the one that also really is affected by foot and mouth disease. And just like foot and mouth disease, remember monkeypox, or what we call mpox, is still with us. That therefore tells us that we must also really resort to practices of protecting ourselves from the mpox, which is also a disease that kills. If at all we don't also protect ourselves from it, it can either kill your eyes or it can kill you. So I think it is already registered in Arua, it was a case registered in Ajumani, and a suspect case recently was registered in Maracha district. So I think it is quite a huge time that we embrace behavior also that can be able to sort of protect us from getting the disease in there. And as we get moving on with the show, that would at the end of the day protect us and our loved ones. It's quite simple to protect ourselves from mpox. Wash your hands using clean water and soap. Secondly, avoid practices of also really getting in contact in relation to areas where the disease is a bit also really vivid in there, and that would also at the end of the day protect us from contacting the disease, and that would also really protect us in future from getting disease and wasting money as a result of also really moving to those facilities for treatment is also another issue which we may also really be able to solely protect ourselves in there. But leaving that discussion aside, Uganda Airlines has pledged to clear any valid outstanding payment claims by the Dubai-based fuel company that is worth $8 million, an equivalent of 29 billion in November 4th statement, where the management of the national carrier acknowledged the delay, citing among other challenges inflated invoices, which they say should also be fast harmonized, and that is exactly what we are seeing in there, and we want to see how this, of course, will be ending. Now, according to the airline, the delay in payment or is derived from Uganda's also insistence also on the paying based on fuel pump lights and also really touch logs, and also not just suppliers' invoices, and that is what exactly we are seeing in there, where a Dubai firm is demanding the airline in terms of supplies of also fuel in there. Now the airline has also clarified that the amount it owes the contractor is $8 million to its earlier reports of about $10 million, which is an equivalent of 37 billion. But we are now seeing actual figures also really where the carrier is owing in there, and that is what exactly we are seeing. And we hope at the end of the day people also really do not also really raise issues about this, because many of the times people also really blow issues out of proportion. But this time around, we expect them also not to blow that out of proportion. And that is where we're going to leave the discussion aside. And still within the private sector players asked to invest in commercial animal feed production. Is another story we are seeing where we are seeing the private sector has been called upon to invest in commercial feed and formula production. That is also to meet the growing demand locally and international. Now, Mr. David Balikowa, a senior livestock also officer at East African Community Secretariat, emphasized the importance of addressing the feed challenge that is also involving the livestock farmers due to climate change, and that means he is rallying people also to embrace the practice of also providing what we call livestock feeds. That is for both animals in East Africa and across East Africa, because the demand is indeed high. Today, many people are engaging in bird keeping also those animals, poultry, and others in piggery, others also in other practices, but these animals lack feeding, and that means the money also is in that sector, and that is where we would also wish to encourage each and every person in the private business to also really engage in that practice of what we call animal also keeping, and that's where we're going to be having discussions with. And our also really summarizing the day is what is also happening in the world of sports, and I really want to let you give a highlight of what's happening in the world of sports, and this is just a hint. And Owen Ezaga with Linda Susie will be here from 2 to 3 p.m. where they will be giving a comprehensive and detailed analysis of what's happening in the world of sports. But I really want to show you so many issues going to happen. And in the big league, we are going to be seeing games returning. Meanwhile, in the regional league, I do understand that already the regional clubs also already are preparing to also win their games in there. And teams like Araka, teams like Juman Town Council, teams like also really Paida, also really United, all are struggling also to make sure they win their games. And that is where more details of that will be coming through in the Whistle Time with Owen Ezaga and Susie. But in the four big league, tomorrow we shall be having games that is between Arua Hill Sports Club and Chigezi Homeboys, where the game also will be hosted by Arua Hill. And they will be returning up in action on 10th of this month against Midgo Calvary. That is also in northern Uganda derby. Blacks Power also will be returning in action against also Chigezi Homeboys on 10th. And that is where also on the 10th we shall be seeing on the Baraka Football Club, hosted by Busoga United. And that is where we shall be seeing more of that also already happening. Meanwhile, the Southern Uganda Premier League, we are seeing it also getting interesting. And I want to show you so many issues going to happen. That is in there. And where we shall be seeing also giving those results happening in there. And I really want to show you that more games will be played. And today there will be 2 games on card. That is between UPDF and Mbarara City, who will be also hosted by Mbarara City in there. And Wakiso Giants will be hosting new entrance to the league, that is Lugazi Football Club. And that is as far as how that game also will be going on. And we shall be seeing the games also returning in round 8, which also will be happening on the 8th of this month, where Bright Stars will be hosted by hosting Kitara Football Club. Express Football Club will be hosting SC Villa. Maroons will be taking on URA. And Vipers will be taking on KCA on the 9th, which is also a day not to miss in there. And that is for those who love the Southern Uganda Premier League, who follow the league. Definitely you will be knowing how interesting that game is going to be. At the moment, if you look at the table standings, KCA is topping the log with 17 points. Sports Club Vipers comes in the second place with 16 points. NEC comes in third place with 16 points. Still in the fourth place is AC Villa with 11 points. URA is still following in there in the fifth place with 11 points. Police is sitting there on the sixth place with 11 points. Bull is sitting on the seventh place with 11 points. And in the eighth place is Mbara City with 9 points. Express Football Club is on the ninth place with 9 points. UPDF is sitting comfortably on the 10th place with 9 points. Wakiso Giants is also sitting in there on the 11th position with 8 points. Lugazi Football Club also really has moved to the 12th position with 8 points in there. Maroons on the 13th position with 6 points. Meanwhile, on the red zone is Kitara Football Club on the 14th with 4 points. In the 15th position is Mbale Heroes with 4 points. Soltilo Bright Stars is on the tail with 3 points. And that is what we are seeing happening in there. And that is how far the Southern Uganda Premier League is concerned. And meanwhile, in the European Nines, last night we had games. And somebody will be interested in wanting to know the results of some of those games that we have played last night. I want to show you that also we had games yesterday, that in the Champions League. And this is still the group stages where we were able to see PSV Eindhoven beating Girona by 4 goals to 0. Slovan Bratislava lost that is Dynamo Zagreb by 4 goals to 1. Bologna lost to AS Monaco by 1 goal to 0. Borussia Dortmund was able to pick a 1-0 over that is Stans Graz. Celtic was able to beat RB Leipzig by 3 goals to 1. Lille had a 1-1 draw with Juventus. Bayer Leverkusen was able to also lose to Liverpool by 4 goals to 0. And Real Madrid lost to AC Milan by 3 goals to 1. Sporting CP was able to also beat Manchester City by 4 goals to 1. And that is as far as the Champions League is concerned. And today also there will be games. And somebody may be asking, maybe what are some of those games that will be played today? I want to show you that today we shall be seeing Club Brugge taking on Aston Villa. Shakhtar Donetsk will be taking on Young Boys. Bayern Munich will be taking on Benfica. Feyenoord will be taking on RB Salzburg. FK Skavena will be taking on Barcelona. Arsenal will be up in action against Inter Milan. Paris Saint-Germain will be taking on Atletico Madrid. And Sparta Prague will be hosted by, that is also, will be also hosting Brest. And FB Stuttgart will be playing Atlanta. And those are some of the games that which we shall be seeing happening today. And Europe also will be having games. And somebody may be asking which game is on Europa today. Besiktas will be taking on Malmo is also another game that we shall be seeing happening in the ladies' night, what we call Europa in there. And that is what exactly we shall be seeing happening in there. And with that, we come to the end of today's show with Bifarish Majid. I want to thank you so much. We watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. I want to say thank you so much. We want to wish you the very best. And I will be bouncing back tomorrow for the Thursday edition. I'm out. Up next is the news bulletin in Lubarati with Fete Emmanuel. Have a good day.